It is currently 8 p.m. on Thursday, January 28th of 2021, and you are listening to episode 4 of the Pass Pro podcast. I'm your host, Nigel Cornelius, and today we'll be reviewing the conference championship games that happened over the weekend. I'll talk about some NFL news with some trade rumors and some coach movings, and at the end of the episode today, we'll be delving into a little bit of hockey talk. But to start off, we'll start with the conference championship game that happened first on Sunday, and the one that hurt the most. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went into Lambeau Field and upset the Packers 31-26. Boy, was this a rough game to watch. I've never seen a team shoot themselves in the foot more than the Green Bay Packers did on Sunday. Like, the defense for the first half played awful. Defensive coordinator Mike Pettin had an awful scheme. Cornerback Kevin King chose the worst day ever to play his worst game of football. Absolutely burned before halftime. It was also an awful play call on that Scotty Miller touchdown before halftime, because why would you ever play a cover one seeker and expect your corners to be on an island before half? That's such a stupid play call. And the worst was Mike Pettin had a timeout. They could have called a timeout and, put a second safety deep or just completely realign the scheme to ensure that Kevin King isn't going to get smoked because he's kind of played like shit. But even then, it was an off. Aaron Jones fumble at the start of the second half made that hole even worse. Aaron Rodgers did what he could to call them out of that hole, and the defense stepped up in the second half. 3 interceptions that only turned into 6 points. You can't win a football game doing that. Aaron Rodgers didn't play bad. He played a pretty big game, but he's still got to take part of the blame for the offensive lull near the end of the game, because the Packers had every chance to win this game, and they didn't. They didn't take advantage of it. They simply did not take advantage of it. So they have no one to blame but themselves, no one to be upset about. Like, it wasn't like, everybody's going to shits on that DPI at the end of the game. And yeah, it was a bad call because you can't call defensive pass interference on a uncatchable ball, but it still should have been defensive holding. I know they were letting him fight all game, but when Kevin King has his jersey hanging 6 inches off of his body, clearly in his hand, I don't think there's a way that ref could have ignored that in any way. And then, of course, there was the field goal instead of, they were down 8. I said the score was 31-26. That doesn't make sense. I don't remember exactly what it was. But, yeah, Packers were down 8, and Matt LaFleur took the field goal because there was over 2 minutes left. And though I think they still should have gone for it, because if you miss it, Tampa Bay's on the 9, and your defense has a shot to get 3 stops. But I do get his point. You kick the field goal. Your defense has been doing really well. And outside of that pass interference call, they had a shot to get back off the field. But your defense is playing really well. You get 4 timeouts because of the 2-minute warning. And what you do is you stop them, and then you literally can go down and score 6 points and win. Not just tie, win. But that game was really no one but to blame the Packers but themselves. And it's shitty because the cap's going to go down. The Packers have a lot of free agents, some big-name free agents that are going to move. I don't know if you're going to have the team this good, having Rodgers play the way he was, have another Super Bowl shot. I hope we have another Super Bowl shot, because I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers win another one with Green Bay instead of, the possibility of him playing somewhere else later in his career. But then the second game happened, and, I went 0 for 2 on my predictions this weekend, because holy shit did Kansas City come out. Kansas City finally did that thing that we'd all been saying they haven't done most of the year. They haven't played a full game. They haven't they're going to get beat. And I was one of those people who said, Jesus, that inefficient red zone offense and that awful red zone defense is going to bite them in the ass. Well, boy, in this Bills game, did they show up and shut up. Outside of a McCole Hardman fumble, this game was never close. It looked close. The Bills were up. McCole Hardman muffed a punt that ended up going back to the Bills, and they ended up scoring. But outside of that, Kansas City came out and purely dominated. Andy Reid, one of the best coaches in the NFL, one of the best offensive coaches ever to play the game. Pat Mahomes is unstoppable. That offense is unreal. Tyreek Hill's one of the fastest and is the most explosive player in the NFL. Travis Kelce's the best receiving tight end in the NFL right now. Pat Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in the NFL right now. That defense is humming with guys like Frank Clark, Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu. It's just, I'm not going to review the Super Bowl matchup this week because it's still over a week away. Do that next week. But if I was to pick a team right now, I'd have the Chiefs beating the Bucs. And then in NFL news this week, we had an interesting week. At the start of the week, the first thing we heard was that Matt Stafford's requested a trade out of Detroit. The franchise that has ruined his career. I think we'd be talking about Matt Stafford as a Hall of Famer if he plays for any other franchise. Like, one of the fastest to 40,000 yards. The guy's unreal, was always elite, shitty team. He's now leaving. The top two destinations for him right now are the San Francisco 49ers and the Indianapolis Colts. I think if he goes to either of those teams, they're a Super Bowl contender. The 49ers have all the offensive weapons they need. Jimmy Garoppolo's just not that good of a quarterback. And the Indianapolis Colts have a young elite defense, have some nice young weapons. Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman Jr. have the second most expected cap space in the league, so they can trade for Matt Stafford and then go sign a few guys, including like a big name wide receiver, probably like an Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, even if he can bring Kenny Golladay. If Matt Stafford can get Kenny Golladay over to Indy with him, holy shit. Like, that Colts scheme can be dangerous. They almost beat the Bills already with Phillip Rivers. Matt Stafford? Whoo! So it'll be nice to hopefully see Matt Stafford actually get to a competent team, but as a Packers fan, it'll also be nice to not have to play Matt Stafford twice a year, because the guy's a dog, extremely good quarterback. And then the other thing, I guess this is something I'm going to have to say I'm wrong on. I guess I didn't think Deshaun Watson would be moved, and I guess there's still a shot he won't be moved, but came out actually today that he officially requested a trade from Houston. So, the Texans ownership, worst is most Houston fans are on Deshaun's side. Like, most of them are going to leave with Deshaun because they think the ownership's awful with Jack Esterby and McCann and just the shit show that's there. And this wasn't inspired, but I can't imagine Deshaun Watson looked at, because the Texans also hired their head coach last night. Former pass coordinator for the Ravens, David Culley, just led the league's worst passing offense. And then also his prior job to that was leading a Kansas City wide receiver core way back that scored the lowest number of touchdowns for a wide receiver core that year. So, put it bluntly, this hire makes absolutely no fucking sense. They say it's not even a factor in driving Deshaun Watson out. He was basically already wanting out. But sweet Jesus, man. What the hell are you doing? Wait the week, hire Eric Bieniemy or somebody who's got any competence, or at least jump the gun on some of these guys instead of doing whatever the fuck you've just done. Get Deshaun out of there. Get Deshaun, just like Matt Stafford, before his career's wasted. Get him a competent fucking roster. For Christ's sake, get J.J. Watt out of there, too, while you're at it. Jesus, I can't. How are you that tone deaf as an organization? How are you that tone deaf that you're going to force out your 25-year-old elite top 5 quarterback after he just led the league in passing yards? Jesus Christ, man. What the... I can't even, a lot of people say the Packers front office has failed to put talent on Aaron Rodgers, and though I can kind of see that viewpoint, I think people blow that out of proportion. But sweet Jesus, I can't imagine being a fan of a front office like that, or even Detroit. I don't know why the hell Matt Stafford stayed in Detroit as long as he did. When my contract was up, I would have dipped out of there so quick and said, fuck this, I'm going to go to a team that gives a shit. I hope, for God's sakes, Deshaun Watson stays in the AFC, because I don't want to have to play him. I don't want Deshaun Watson to stay in the path of the Packers Super Bowl, because he's a top 5 QB. He's 25 years old. He's only going to get better if you give him an actual team. Jesus Christ. He basically single-handedly willed the Texans to the playoffs last year, and this year they went 4 wins because they traded anything worth a damn. And then, I guess in the rest of the coaching news, Packers let go special teams coordinator Sean I can't even pronounce that last name. Manija, I think, which was well overdue. The Packers have one of the league's worst special team units since he's been hired. All of our special teams outside of Mason Crosby, our kicker, are shit. Just awful. Horrendous. Our punt unit, I think, surrendered the most punt return TDs in the NFL this year. Kick return unit was dog shit. Our punt team is dog shit. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Packers got to get a new punter. I like J.K. Scott, but boy, he isn't it. And with Max Duffy in this draft, pull the trigger on Max Duffy. Please, he looks so good. And then the other coordinator in Green Bay is defensive coordinator Mike Pettin. He can't be fired because his contract ended after this season, but we haven't heard news on him being extended, and he's already had his exit interview. So please, the Lord of Jesus, tell me he's out of the fucking team. Because I've never seen someone be so incompetent and waste so much talent like Mike Pettin. A defense as talented as Green Bay should not be 9th in the league in total yards, and let's not even account for the scoring. He tries to lose games. That call, I bring up that Scotty Miller halftime, before half TD again. You do not play cover one man with 8 seconds left. Never should you play cover one man in when a team's lining up spread. You don't play cover one man when a team lines up spread, let alone before half. There's literally no safety help. If you just run all streaks, somebody's getting burned. There's only so much Adrian Amos can do back there. And the amount of the 3-man rushes on third, and the amount of third and longs he gives up. And, the 3-man rushes he sends, dropping, fucking defensive ends, and Preston Smith out like a cornerback, and dropping Tyler Lancaster, a 300-pound defensive tackle in coverage. Never, I don't get it. I don't know how he wasn't fired after last year, but if I don't let Matt LaFleur go get a defensive coordinator like Wade Phillips, or even promote like a Mike Smith, Jerry Gray, holy shit. Because there's no way in hell Mike Pettin deserves a job after what he's done since he got into Green Bay. Because I'll tell you what it's been, fuck nothing. It's been a waste of defensive talent is what it's been. So, with only 2 games and, a week off, and I'm not talking about the Pro Bowl because it's Pro Bowl bullshit anyways, but now it's fucking on Madden, so it's a real big bullshit. So, the Pro Bowl's, I think, the worst all-star game in all of sports. So dumb. So dumb. But I decided, since I'm a big hockey guy and NHL started up and it's been a blast, we talk about some hockey in the podcast. This is probably something that's going to happen a lot more over the offseason. So if you're a hockey fan, you can certainly listen in. I'll still talk football, and most of this will be dedicated to football. But there might be a couple episodes strictly directed to hockey, or parts of the podcast directed to hockey. Because again, like I said, I'm a big hockey fan. So started off, my hockey team is the New Jersey Devils, who have been extremely surprisingly successful this year. Pre-COVID, Mackenzie Blackwood was playing like the best goalie in the NHL. Was saving damn near 9.950% of his shots. Had a pretty low goals against average. Jack Hughes has come out firing. All the people who said he was a bust because he was an 18-year-old who had a fucking slow year last year are looking stupid because he's playing unreal. Defenseman Ty Smith is currently a Calder candidate. The Devils under Lindy Ruff, who I was very critical of the Lindy Ruff hire. I wanted Peter Laviolette, and I was pretty pissed off that I didn't get him. I ended up with Lindy Ruff, but I can't complain. This team has done nothing but succeed under Lindy Ruff so far. They've dropped a couple games, but really, I'm not upset about a team dropping games to Philadelphia, Boston, and really good teams. Even then, we snuck it. We only lost to Boston in OT and then snuck out a win. We, had a 1-1 series with the Islanders. Currently playing Philadelphia. They won the last game. Wouldn't surprise me if they win this one too with Blackwood out and Wedgwood starting. But the Devils have been actually a fun hockey team to watch, probably for the first time in a few years. But moving on to the rivals, and boy, this is fun. This is a blast. The New York Rangers started looking like hot shit. Awful. And I love it. A team in the play-in round should have never gotten a shot at the number 1 overall pick. And the fact that they got Alexi Lafreniere after going number 2 the year before and hit Capo Caco drove me nuts. So to watch my rival team come out and shit the bed when everybody was talking about them as a possible, dark horse cup contender. Artemi Panarin bitched their team into the playoffs last year after saying if we had a full season, we would have made it. Fuck off. You didn't have enough points to make it at the time. You're lucky you got into the play-in round. And they came out looking like shit this year. It sucks for me because I've Igor Shesterkin in fantasy, and he was supposed to be he was supposed to be the Calder candidate, so hopefully he turns it around. But Capo Caco versus Jack Hughes is almost looking like it might be a settled debate. And then Alexis Lafreniere is getting the Jack Hughes treatment. Like, people are jumping the gun and shitting on the kid because he's not having a strong start to the year. He's like 19 years old, max. That's young as shit. You want to know why most of the Calder winners are typically like NCAA players or like Russians? Because most of their rookie seasons aren't till they're in their 20s. The year Connor McDavid was there and Artemi Panarin won the Calder, he was 24. He had already spent 6 years in the KHL. Like, most 18-year-olds, hockey is a long development curve, like, even for, especially with goalies, but if you're expecting an 18-year-old, 19-year-old to come in their first year and light up the league, that's just not happening. Like, Mackenzie Blackwood is 25. He had his rookie season last year at 24 years old in nets. Like, it takes a while. These guys, like, this isn't like football where your youngest you're getting drafted at is like 20. Most guys are 22 to 24. You're getting drafted at 18 years old. Like, some of these guys legit haven't touched college. They graduate from high school, and boop, look at Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes was 18 in the NHL. Like, he graduated from high school and then was playing NHL hockey. So, no shit that Alexis Lafreniere has had a slow start to the year. The NHL is a big difference from the Cuba League and the other minor leagues where they play. This isn't like, it's not like it's just a step onto the ice and nothing changes. That's why a lot of guys don't like sending their NHL-ready prospects to the World Juniors. Devils didn't do it with Jack Hughes. Rangers didn't do it with Alexis Lafreniere. Because, A, you look at Kirby Dach got hurt, but Kirby Dach is a little different. But B, the World Juniors is a completely different play style of hockey, and it fucks a lot of these guys up when they have to go transfer out of their NHL style and transfer back. So I think people, like the Rangers have started slow and it's nice to watch, but I think people are blowing it a bit out of proportion. They're gonna be fine. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but they're gonna be fine. People gotta slow down on the whole fucking the Rangers stink. Dumb shit. But the Penguins are another team that's disappointing. And Jesus Christ, do they need to figure out goalie. Because Tristan Jarry couldn't stop a beach ball if he wanted to this year. Looking absolutely horrendous. Saving under, not right now, I got to see if I can find what's his save percentage for the season. Because it's not, I think it's under 900. Yeah, in 5 games, he's let in 17 goals against. He's 2-2 in an OT loss. With an .868 save percentage and a 3.91 goals against average. That is horrendous. Most goalies around 900 are iffy. You want your goalie to be like anywhere between 910 and up. 868? Only saving for less than 87% of your shots ain't pretty. That's not good. And neither is almost letting in 4 goals a game. I get that their defense sucks, but Jesus Christ. Tristan Jarry's got to step his game up, or Pens might be desperate for a goalie. And, you know, some surprise teams in the standing. Somehow Nashville's, nobody in the Central's playing well. Nashville's winning with a 4-3 record. Fucking hate that. Why does John Hines have to have nice things? It also helps that Carolina's played 3 games. Tampa Bay's played 4 games. Florida and Dallas have played 3 games. They're not holding that lead. Dallas and Florida are 3-0, likely 4-0 after tonight. Carolina's 2-1. They're probably going to lose to Tampa tonight, but even then, Tampa's going to be 4-1. Nashville's at 8 points. Nashville won't be there long. Washington's head of the East at 4-0-3, but they only have 2-point lead over Boston, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh, and only a 4-point lead over New Jersey, Buffalo. And then the big surprise is the Montreal Canadiens in the North, only 2 points behind the Maple Leafs, but also with 2 games less played. So if Montreal gets a win and an OT loss, or 2 wins, they take over the Maple Leafs. Which, the Canucks I thought the Canucks were going to be much better off, but their defense is awful. So hopefully they can figure that out, because they're the only bad Canadian team this year's been Ottawa. And it's been awful. Jesus. The Vegas Golden Knights have also had a great start, 5-1-1. That team defies the rules of an expansion team. Expansion teams are supposed to suck. Somehow Vegas said, fuck that. And everything's just worked out. Colorado, who are my cup, the team I thought was going to go win the cup, is 4-3 right now, but I can see them turning that around. Arizona looks like shit. Arizona's going to blow up shit. Arizona's 2-4-1. I don't expect for Ulrich Larson, Phil Kessel, or Darcy Kemper to be on that team this year, because they had no first-round pick last year, because they gave that to... They gave their first and the third and prospects to the Devils for Taylor Hall, who then left in the offseason. Then they had their first round pick and their second, I think they had their second last year and their first this year stripped for their cheating, because they were taking prospects too early. And then with their first pick in last year's draft, they had to rescind the rights to, because they drafted a fucking human piece of shit. A guy who disabled a colored... mentally disabled child, not disabled, he bullied for years, abused him for years, and instead of apologizing to the family, apologized to the organization for his actions. And it wasn't just like a little bully. This was bad enough abuse that it went to court, and the kid was, found guilty of said abuse. And then the fucking idiotic Arizona drafted him and then rescinded his rights. So this team's in cap hell with no draft capital, and their team is 2-4-1, and it looks like shit right now. So expect anything worth a damn to be moved out of Arizona before that team goes bankrupt and ends up in fucking Quebec. Either Quebec or somewhere. I get that Arizona is like kind of a sports market, but nobody in the desert watches hockey. Arizona has like one of the worst attendances in the NHL yearly. It's just odd. Like, their team sucks, and even when their team's good, nobody really watched them. Give Quebec a hockey team, for Christ's sake. And I know I should say, give them an expansion team, which would be cool. But with Seattle expanding, they're probably not going to do one. And if there's a team that's going to relocate, that's goddamn Arizona. Jesus, that's frustrating. Also, the Ducks, though I don't think Anaheim's going to make the playoffs this year, John Gibson's a stud in net. Hopefully they can figure that out. San Jose sucks. They made a fuck-up last year with their giving Ottawa a free unlottery protected pick that Ottawa got. Detroit's Detroit. They obviously suck. They're going to be in contention for the first overall pick this year, probably, as per normal. Buffalo was weird. Also, the Islanders at 3-3 are weird. That's a really strong defensive team who needs to figure out how to score goals. You gave up a lot for Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and he's been... Let's say, he hasn't been bad, but he's definitely been disappointing, to say the least. So, that's something you're probably going to want to look into. Hopefully, you can get that figured out, because your defense is fine. Varlamov's been one of the best goaltenders in the league. He saves pretty near fucking everything. So, the Islanders are dangerous. If they made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Yeah, because with the team still bubbled East and West, I think they were. I don't remember. That playing round was weird. But they still made the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, they lost to Tampa, but Tampa went and won the cup. So, nobody's surprised there. So, I don't mind the Islanders. It'd be cool if they turned it around. Philadelphia is fine. Carter Hart's a stud. They had, they went 2-0 against the Pens, had a bit of a rough spot, but people are overreacting. We finally got hockey back. It's a blast to watch. That's everything for this week. Please check out the social media at PassProPod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you for listening to the podcast this week, and I hope you come back next week.